as we say goodbye to 2021, we're going to take a look back at some of the stories that got us talking this year. So first, the Capitol riots on January 6th seemed to take everyone by surprise. The rioter, known as the QAnon shaman, was sentenced to more than 3 years behind bars. So far, more than 700 others were charged with crimes related to the riots. Then in April, Derek Chauvin was convicted for the killing of George Floyd. He was later sentenced to 22 years and a half in prison. And of course, COVID-19 and the vaccine became available to all adults and children 5 and over. This year, businesses and government started imposing vaccine mandates, but that also created backlash and anti-vax sentiments, just as not one, but 2 new variants, Delta and Omicron, emerged. Okay, so a lot of big stories of 2021. Lindsay, when you look back, what stands out to you?
I would say not one story, but overarching how many people were held accountable for taking Black lives. I think because of how much the George Floyd story affected all of us in 2020, in 2021 to see Chauvin held accountable for it was very important. To look at Kim Potter and watch her be held accountable for killing Daunte Wright, and then also to know that, you know, he has a 2-year-old baby that has to grow up and figure out how to live without a father. To watch them get some sort of justice was important to me. And then also to look at people like Amber Geiger. Yes. She killed Botham Jean by accident, she says, walking in his apartment. But you'll remember she tried to appeal that case this year, and they set a precedent by telling her no and kept her charges exactly as they were this year. And also watching the 3 men that killed Ahmaud Arbery. Yep. Was really important to see them go down. And so I think those are 4 examples, and there are way too many lives that were lost this year and last year and the year before. But to watch some sort of justice happen in a row like that and be at the end of the year, it just shows that we're headed in the right direction to me.
I think, Lindsay, just to piggyback off what you're saying, as a society, like, our jury is almost like a microcosm of where we are as a people. And I think for the first time ever, that jury felt that it was no longer acceptable to have a police officer do that, even when they say, I'm sorry, because that had been acceptable up until then. And I think we were all on pins and needles, including the people on the show, like, oh my goodness, are we going to have to watch this man be murdered and then watch him be exonerated? The same with Ahmaud Arbery. So for as much as we talk about the bad, we got this one right a couple times. So it's a step in the right direction.
Well said, well said. Jeff, anything stick out to you?
I would repeat what they said, right? But I have to go in the same direction, the overcorrection. I understand the correcting things. We have a lot to work on. We have a lot of places we need to correct, and we're starting to get things right. When you start overcorrecting things and you take Mike Richards, who was supposed to be the host of Jeopardy, who is an Emmy Award, he's a producer that won an award. Right? And he was going to be the host of the show after Alex Trebek passed away, sadly, and the producers or the executive producers start putting all these people and confusing the audience. They know how the television show runs and works, but yet they chose to listen to Twitter followers and Twitter suggestions, and then they're having all these other people host. Then it's not race and sexuality and all these different things come in there. Then Mike Richards gets fired. That's an overcorrection. Let's focus on what's wrong and fix that. And if you say I'm wrong for saying Mike Richards and you call me a Trumper and a racist and homophobic and all that, that's not the right place to be in 2022. We need to push all that aside. Baby, it's cold outside. Play it at your house, and if you don't like it, don't play it at radio. We need to focus on what's important in our lives. Sorry, I go on a rant about Jeopardy hosts.
It's going to dilute,
but it's very much so diluting the messages.
I think that's almost sometimes what it's intended to do. I think a lot of times when you present these weird kind of super, like everybody's like, we want to get rid of some Disney thing. It's like, I never hear my friends talking about that, but it does make the people that do want to have a conversation about what might be inappropriate. It makes you come to that conversation already jaded, like, well, Sam's such a lefty. It's like, Sam's the most reasonable person that I know.
It's
like we can have a conversation.
For every Breonna Taylor tweet, there were 1,000 baby it's cold outside tweets, and so that's the story that got the head of the news, and that's what you're trying to say.
And that's what I appreciate about this show. We get to put it on the table and talk about it.
Yes.
How about you, Sam?
For me, and I know this is a hot button issue, and I don't want it to be, to your point, is vaccines. Like, I want to be able to have my own stance on vaccines without people immediately putting me in a category. Right. For me, the vaccine is very important because Eric never got the opportunity to, Eric, my brother-in-law, who lost his life to COVID, he was about a week away, because he's a healthcare worker, from getting the vaccine. And if he would have gotten the vaccine, every single doctor, and he had the top doctors from around the world, told him he would have survived, he would have not had the double lung transplant, right? And now we know he would have survived. So if anybody out there, again, I just know it could have been life-saving for my family. Just talk to your doctor, because I know everybody has different stances and different health issues, and I don't know how to, diagnose one person who has an autoimmune deficiency or disease, but if your doctor feels like it's going to protect you, then I would just suggest talk to your doctor, because it would have saved my brother-in-law's life.
Well said. That's it. And that's the nuanced conversation we want to have.
I know. I don't want. There are way too many labels today, aren't there?
Way too many. I'm
many.
triple vax, but if I have a question about the vax,
right.
I'm anti-vax.
Right.
But I'm triple vax. You
right.
moron.
Okay,
I'm leaving that in 2021. I have to get out some of this anger.
Okay.
I'm coming back fresh.